Okay, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we'll try it. This is my Linux desktop, and what we're looking at here is the workspace of PixInsightLE, Pleiades PixInsightLE 1.0. And what I'm going to do is just show a quick illustration of the workflow that we use, that I use, processing an astronomical image of the moon. So first, let's get an image to work with. Just use a standard file open menu. This PixInsightLE is a Windows program. We're operating on under Wine on the Linux Ubuntu system. So I already know that, let's see, frame 1250 is a pretty good looking one. So let's pick it up there. Okay, so there, that's our original starting image there. This is a JPEG from my Canon camera, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Do this just by rolling the mouse wheel to raise or lower the size of the image. And up here we can see the shrink factor. We're looking at that at 1/6 size now up here. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and shrink the window boundaries down to the size of that image. Alright, now I'm going to make a duplicate of this image just by going image duplicate like that, and we'll also roll it down to 1/6 size. And I'm just going to keep that one for reference, and then we'll operate on this one over here. Okay, so we got to actually make it a little smaller here, just to save some space. Okay, so that's our reference. That's the original starting image. This is a duplicate of it, and we'll be working on this one. So let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. And first thing we want to do is to look at the histograms. Now with PixInsight, we don't want to operate on the full image first. What we do is we select a preview, and then we do our operations on the preview, and when we like what we see, then we apply those operations to the main image. So you can actually select several previews of areas of interest, and then those appear in tabs to the left of your screen there. Okay. Now PixInsightLE operates at a 96-bit per pixel math level throughout its processing if the information is there, and it doesn't shrink down to a 16-bit per pixel level until you actually 16 or 8-bit per pixel level until you actually save the file. All right, so let's look at the preview 01. That's this one. First thing we want to do is to look at the histograms. So we bring up the histogram tool and select image 01, preview 01, and then this gives us the RGB luminance histogram. And all I do here is I apply the auto clip function and then take the process drop icon and drop it onto the image. Okay, and this then corrects the histogram roughly so that we get a little bit better contrast and distribution spread of colors throughout the histogram. Alright, so let's dismiss that tool, and we'll go to save or store this preview in its present state before we go and operate on some others. Now the next thing that we usually do would be the curves and levels. This is a sophisticated tool that allows you to change contrast levels and the balances of all of the different color levels. There I made a slight change in the contrast. I didn't really like what it did though, so I'm going to make a little bit more of an adjustment there. Now, you'll notice that before I changed to this tool, I went to this store preview here. Well, the reason that you do that, or the reason that it doesn't store the preview, is because you may want to make multiple adjustments on a particular tool, and you don't want the image to be starting from the last adjustment. You want it to be starting from 0 adjustment so that you can tell the difference between this curve and this curve without putting this curve on top of this curve, for example. So now when I apply this curve to the image, it's going to start back at the unadjusted preview so that I'm not overlapping adjustments. Okay, now that looks a little bit better. We brought the dark areas down, didn't affect the highlight areas very much. Make a slight adjustment in those highlight areas. Okay, and then compare that to what the original image looks like. We can see that we're starting to get something that looks more like the moon there. Okay, so we'll dismiss the curves tool. We'll make sure we have this preview stored in its present state. And then we can do something like wavelet processing. Now this is a little bit more sophisticated kind of processing, and I'm not really going to show going completely through it here. All I want to do is to show the kind of workflow and the kinds of things that you do using this program. Now what I've done is, if you see down here, I have a couple of process icons. That's what these are called. If I go to the preview and I go to view processing history, I get a thing called a process container that shows all of the processes that I've applied to this particular preview. And I can take its little drop icon here and drop it onto the workspace, and now I have this set of procedures saved in a process icon. And then I can just drop that process icon onto whatever image I like. So if I go to the second preview over here, this one has not been processed yet. I can take this process icon and just drop it onto that image. And then all of those processes are applied to it. And then we should be able to see some kind of a change. Preview, undo, preview, redo. Okay. Now it just so happens that I have a complete couple of process icons over here that I worked with previously very, very carefully, and I used this wavelet transform and some curved transforms in it to produce what I thought was a nice image, and that's here in this process container that I've renamed Lunar Xti 2. So if I go to my original image over here, this is unprocessed. We've processed the previews in a couple of different ways, but we haven't done anything to the original image yet. But I can take this Lunar Xti 2 icon that contains those processes, including the wavelet function, and drop it onto the main image, and then it will be doing all that, I think. Yeah, okay, it's working in the background right now. It takes each process in the icon takes a certain amount of time, and the times are conveniently listed for you. So this one is taking a minute or so to do its thing. And when it finally does, it'll show up on the image. There we go. Okay, so now the changes that we made by dropping that Lunar Xti 2 icon onto the image here are now displayed. Okay, so I'm going to just delete all the previews, and now we have something that we can compare to our original image. We will have as soon as we get control of the program back. There we go. And here's our original over here. Okay, So I think you can see that that's quite a bit of difference there. We've done a huge amount of improvement. Let me blow this up. There we're looking at the same region at the same scale. You can see how we've really brought out a lot of detail in the image on the right compared to the image on the left. Okay, now what we would do now is, what I usually do now is I take this image and save it and then move it into GIMP and apply GIMP's unsharp mask tool to it. Now you have the option to save your files in TIFF, FITS, RAW, and JPEG, but since this is an output picture, I'm just going to save it as a JPEG with 100% quality setting. And now we will open the GIMP. And then we'll open that file in GIMP. Where is it? There we go. Okay. Now, all I want to do here is just apply GIMP's unsharp mask using its default settings. And then we'll save that file. Okay, now we can put GIMP away. And now we're back to PixInsight, and let's open that file once again. We just did in GIMP. Now we can compare the unsharp masked version with, so this is the plain one before gimping, and then this is the unsharp masked one on the left with GIMP. So you can see now that we've got a pretty much fully finished astrophotograph of the moon, starting with this kind of bland, gray, washed out, fuzzy, dull, and we come up with this, a nice presentation quality image of Luna. And this here is also, this is displayed at 1/3 the size, so the full resolution size is that. That's half size there. Alright, thank you for watching. PixInsightLE workflow processing a lunar image.